Welcome to the collection of Adrian Burr and Peter Tatham. Art+Object is delighted to be bringing this auction to you. As you know, over the years we have offered a number of important private collections, and this one is no different. It's a very special collection full of amazing contemporary art, antiques, contemporary furniture and special pieces that Adrian and Peter acquired during their extensive collecting life together. We realise that there are some limitations around bringing you an auction in the times that we're living in, so we're upping our video content and trying to bring you this auction to you in some unique ways. For those of you who don't live in Auckland, hopefully you'll find these videos useful. Of course, we're available to help with any questions you might have on condition or some additional photographs. We can help you with any of that kind of thing. Of course, we've got the auction room all set up, as I hope you can see behind me. And for those of you that are wanting to come in and view the sale, you can contact us to make a time and we can arrange contactless viewing for you. We have a lot of these catalogues available, so if perhaps you don't have one yet and you would like one, you can contact us to have one sent out to you. Of course, everything's live on our website, artandobject.co.nz, and you can view it there and find contact details for us. I hope that you enjoy the content that we're bringing you and that it enables you to get an insight into this beautiful collection. We'll be conducting the auction here in the room, live. Ben will be on the rostrum, and we'll be accepting the usual phone and absentee bids. Or else you can bid live on our app, which can be downloaded from the App Store. You'll be able to follow all the action. In the meantime, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us if you would like any information on how to download the app or how to bid on the night. Thank you.
Behind the scenes with an auction like this, we're working on it for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, there's a flourish and you produce the catalogue and then you install in the room and everything takes on different meaning. When you remove it from a collector's house like Adrian and Peter's and you bring it into a space like Art+Object, which is effectively a relatively neutral warehouse type building, it changes the dynamic of the work completely. And I think one of the works which has changed the most perhaps for me is Bill Hammond's Living Large. It wasn't actually in the house, it was installed down in the Prospect offices, right in front of the boardroom table. And you can see why. It's dominated by this large banquet table. The palette is perhaps not what we might understand or what we might normally come to expect for Bill Hammond. The Whistler's Mother painting, I think, is far more typical of what people, at least in the auction market, might expect of Hammond's works. But for me, the Living Large painting is the absolute masterpiece. It's a real privilege for a student of McCann's work and a student of the New Zealand art market. I mean, I think if you look back through, auction catalogues objectively over the last 30 or 40 years, there's probably only really 2 or 3 paintings of this significance ever come up at auction. I'm absolutely delighted to have St Matthew's Lightning. It's probably one of the last sort of 4 or 5 major McCanns that he did. It'll be familiar to many people watching today because it featured in McCann's show at Auckland Art Gallery, the celebration of his 100-year anniversary of his birth, A Place to Paint. Really, it's from a small body of work. I mean, his output by the late 1970s has slowed quite dramatically. The work takes its title from the Gospel of St Matthew and the Lightning. Like all of McCann's works, it feels like the landscape is there. You have to look a little bit harder for it. In this instance, it's really a celestial landscape, I think. There's notions of the comets floating through the sky there. It's dominated by his monumental Tower Cross. McCann's such a brute. It's not about the quality of the paint. It's about the message, and it's so powerful and so strong. I mean, one of the great pleasures of our industry is how up close and personal we get with the artworks. And sometimes there is some wonderful stories and some wonderful history on the verso. These collections are really about conversations with artists that artists have with themselves, and sometimes they're about conversations that they have with art history and artists from other generations and other countries. And Thomason entitles his homage attributed to Correggio, a napkin for St. Veronica. It's a lovely connection to McCann there as well, because St. Veronica, one of the Stations of the Cross, and St. Veronica famously wiped Jesus' brow as he was born with the weight of the cross. And was said to have, with that napkin, have seen Christ's own reflection imprinted on the napkin. So it's a lovely subject, and you can see that Fomerson's done such a beautiful job of both measuring himself against the Italian Renaissance master and capturing this moment. The McCann from 1947 is also a painting in which McCann defers to a great master, this time Titian. 1947, I think McCann was only maybe 27, 28 years of age, and it would start him on that track of those wonderful, naive religious paintings that he painted for 5 or 6 years from 47 through to 52 or 53. There's a sister painting also called Entombment After Titian, which is in the collection of Te Papa. I mean, they are truly blessed. I think it was 7 or 8 of the religious paintings as a body of work.
Very rarely in the art world do money and taste meet. Peter's extraordinary taste for interior design and Adrian's background, which a lot of people don't know about, which was an art background of working with people like Barry Brickell and Yvonne Rust making pots and painting. It was a powerful pair of people to join forces. I met Adrian and Peter through Peter. I used to drink with Simon Woolley at the old Empire Tavern, which Simon owned, and Peter was a very good friend of Simon's. So if you take paintings like, St Matthew Lightning and Tony Fomerson, or the McCann of Entombment, these were expensive paintings, and so you had to have fairly deep pockets to purchase them. And so the money that Adrian and Peter had available to them to purchase art, they were able to purchase some of the very best things that were coming up for sale in the market. Both Adrian and Peter, the philanthropic side of their life wasn't well known by many people. They supported things that, we will never know about, and were incredibly generous. Sculpture played, a big part in their collection, particularly when they bought Paratai down in the Hawke's Bay, and Pete developed what I'd describe as a legacy garden. And of course, within the legacy garden, it needed some important sculpture. And I don't think I've ever seen a sculpture so well displayed as the Michael Patakofai bull on the piano in the garden at Paratai. Well, the Lisa Rowett monkeys Adrian bought not long after Peter died, and he saw them, and I could see him stop, and he said, "Who's this artist?" Well, Lisa's the most gorgeous Australian sculptor who's absolutely obsessed with primates. And he said, "But the monkeys?" I said, "Yes." And he said, Pete was born in the year of the monkey. And so these 2 monkeys by Lisa Rowett became part of the entrance as you walked into the house at Cremorne, and what a fantastic setting for them. Yeah, the McCann element in the collection, was very strong. I think about the Entombment painting, 1946, it's weird to think that it was first exhibited in the Wellington Public Library in 1948, and from there went into a private collection for many years in Christchurch before it came out and was bought by Adrian and Peter. I only had a very short window of opportunity to show them the painting, so I grabbed it. I think it was either a Saturday or a Sunday, and roared around to their house. They'd just got back from Melbourne. I showed the Entombment painting to them and just said, most of these are in museums, that they're incredibly rare and this is incredibly important. Of course, they both got that. The Maori artefact side of their collection developed slowly. As they had more and more international people coming through their home, Adrian in particular wanted to be able to show these people, what great artists early New Zealand Māori were. And so he went about putting together a small but very good collection of Māori artefacts. When the Shane Cotton Tiki painting was bought, I had the carved panel fragment sitting beside it, and they looked so good together that Adrian said, well, if I buy the cotton, I have to buy the carved panel. The true test of a collection that you develop over 30 odd years or more is when you walk into the room and you go, wow, you know, this is a fantastic collection. You don't want to go, oh, I wish they'd never bought that. And one never had that feeling with Adrian and Peter's collection. I was always incredibly proud of what we had put together. And, you know, I'm slightly sad that it's all come to an end, but, you know, all good things must come to an end.